One of the things that we do on the Swarm Unplugged is to find excellent talent, intelligent people who are developing projects in the crypto community that we think will be of interest to you. Always remember, these are not necessarily recommendations, but only things that we think will be intriguing and possibly something you would like to take even a closer look at. Today, we've got something very, very special for you. This is the Swarm Unplugged podcast, where we introduce you to the best and the brightest in the crypto universe. With thousands of ideas to learn from people in all areas of crypto, we want to explore as many as possible. I'm Christopher Knight, so let's get started. You know, we have always, the only thing constant is change, right, in the process. And I am, of course, Christopher Knight, and I want to make sure that we show off one of our other team members, which we usually call a technical director. But Rick Scherer is going to be our co-host today to introduce a couple of very talented gentlemen. Rick, welcome to the co-host on the Swarm Unplugged. Whoa, baby, you know.
This is a unique and different feeling to be outside of my comfort zone here.
Well, I'd had to pull you out of the closet sometime. You know, you said you wanted to get out, get out of the closet. Now, this gives you your chance, right?
Well, it definitely does. Definitely does.
Okay.
Thank you for inviting me here to fill in our marvelous co-host, Tony K. Of course, he's got some important business that he is attending to today in regard to his boat production. So let's get started.
Absolutely. But before we start, I want to know, can you play that grand piano behind you there?
Oh, I play it in a very grand way.
Do you? Well, yes, maybe as we get close to the end of the show, you can actually demonstrate that for us. Okay.
It's a problem. When I get over to that point over there, the audio doesn't work. It's just too far back in the house. So
okay. We'll have to work on that next time, maybe.
Good
something
request,
like that.
Next time I'll consider that. Thanks.
Okay. Well, it would be really, really enjoyable coming from you, of course. Well, today we have two folks that I have had the pleasure of talking to, and I know from whence they come, as they say. Our guests today are Matt and Joe, and just for time's sake, I'm going to bring Matt on first and have him introduce himself. Matt, welcome to the Swarm Unplugged.
Thank you for having me, Chris and Rick. Thank you very much. I want to see him play that piano at the end of the show.
Absolutely.
No
pressure. No pressure.
That would be an interesting feat, and I do play with my feet, so that could be the.
Did you trim your toenails today?
Oh, they're trimmed always.
Right. Matt, tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
All right. About 30-ish years on Wall Street, starting as an equity broker at Shearson Lehman Brothers. There's a name for you. Spent around 10, 11 years in the equity world. Then got introduced to foreign exchange trading. Internet was new. Online foreign exchange trading was becoming huge because prior to that, foreign exchange trading was just for the very large big boys, and it was all done over the phone. And the internet opened that up to everybody. So spent after about 10 years in equity, maybe about 15 in foreign exchange. Then the last few years, mainly the last year, concentrating on alternative investments. And when I started 30 years ago, that's where I met my partner, Joe, Joe Hagen, that you'll bring up and introduce. 30 years later, we've always kept in touch, did some other projects together. But he introduced me to this opportunity that we're going to discuss today, NDAU. And not only did I love it so much that I put my own money into it, but I'm talked with Joe and we partnered up again, and now I'm bringing it to all my ecosystem and beyond. I mean, I really believe in this, that and you'll see from what we talk about, it's a very unique opportunity.
Well, we're looking very much forward to researching it as you talk about it. But now let's bring Joe on and let him tell a little bit about yourself there too. Joe, welcome to this Forum Unplugged.
Hey, thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here, you fine folks. So yeah, my name is Joe Hagen. I am first and foremost a loving and present father of 5 children and husband, and love investing, love helping people out. Some of the most passionate stuff I've done has been as a coach, whether it was, football for my son's team, softball for my daughter, baseball. I love watching people develop, right? And I took a lot of the skill set, on Wall Street, like Matt said. I spent 20 years as, it's a dinosaur now, the traditional stockbroker, right? I recognized that more and more of the tools that we had were going into everyone's palm of their hand. So why do you really need a broker to buy Apple or whatever, right? So about 10 years ago, started a company called Wealth Colony that helped really invest and support 2 trends. One was the do-it-yourself investor, and we've helped through a company that I invested in through Wealth Colony, 40,000 people, get financially, if not independent, have the tools to be independent and have the knowledge and the know-how. And the other thing was the blockchain, and it was a game changer. And I mined Litecoin in all of 2014. I missed Bitcoin when it was introduced in a baseball dugout from an assistant coach who was a head of IT at probably the biggest market maker of Bitcoin now, right? But I've been in a select bunch of long-term deals, long-term being about 3 years, that have been, been fortunate enough to see, dramatic. Litecoin from 3 went to 300 in a few years. Another deal we did at 9 cents went to like $2-3, right? So, with the right homework and the right patience, there's just a lot of money to be made in blockchain, and it's just starting. So Matt mentioned one of the long-term deals that we have, but we're also helping out. We had a conference call last night that was phenomenal. We have a trading coach that has short-term strategies. Imagine this. I have a doctor, and no one here on this call is more busy than him. He's seeing patients, he's a chiropractor, sees patients. He's got like 15 weight loss centers, energizing weight loss programs, etc. Entrepreneur, speaker on stage, best-selling author. 3 months ago, Christopher and Rick, if I could say this, and I think I've used this term with you before, and forgive my vernacular, but he did not know shit from Shinola about crypto 3 months ago. He has his own stock guy that does stocks. He's too busy. And one of these other guys that I'm connected with is a trading coach. And he paid a tuition to get coached about crypto because he just was so fascinated by it. He goes, I got to learn it. And in 3 months, he's up over 100% on his account. He went into cash going into September. He's come out of September into October buying some really, 200% in a few days on one of the trades. And it's something that can scale. And I've done before with the stock option company. And so we have now with Matt, we have an arsenal of, hey, I've got a really cool way for you to learn and trade on your own short-term strategies. Because like Matt shows you long-term, the power of what we're buying with NDAU, and you'll look in Bitcoin, every time you have this volatility, right? Every time you see one of these big drops in Bitcoin, oh my goodness, I wish I bought those dips because every time it snaps back to a new high, it comes back down, it snaps back to a new high. So there was a lot of volatility there that a lot of people can't stomach, yet other people look at it and go, holy cow, there's a lot of opportunity in that volatility. And I don't want to go into that volatility. I don't want to swim in those waters unless I'm tethered to a lifeguard that's going to help me. And really, that's kind of, really, really what's happening in our world, Matt and Joe Hagen's world right now.
And I'm sure we'll learn how to get in touch with you to become a part of that, because I may be of interest to some of our audience for sure. Now, as far as NDAU goes and all of that, Matt, are you going to take the bull by the horns on this one and begin the NDAU presentation here?
Yes, I can bring up the slides. My partner Joe can talk it also, so maybe he'll hop in with some micro distinctions. But we good to go? I'll bring them up now, Chris.
Yep, we're good to go.
All righty.
Okay, there we go. I hope everybody can see the NDAU, world's first adaptive digital currency slide.
Yep, we're good.
Okay. So what there's thousands of crypto coins out there. Like just on Coinbase alone, I think you have access to 5,000 or 6,000. So what makes NDAU? How I speak to a lot of people and they're like, Matt, I know Bitcoin, I've heard of Ethereum, but how do I pick out of the thousands that are out there? And there are that many. Well, what we're on this project with NDAU is because it is very unique from the other thousands. The whole concept here is next generation. The Bitcoins that pretty much everybody has heard of, the Ethereums, and all the others are considered first generation. And usually, first generation of any service or product, it's a high flyer, but it's not the long-term winner. And, I'll just give you some quick examples so you can, understand what I'm talking about. When I first started working at a company, they gave us BlackBerries, and it was an amazing technology. You had the dial on the side, but I had to, grow my fingernails long to type. But when was the last time you saw a BlackBerry? It's now dominated by next generation iPhone and Samsung, because they can look and say, what'd you do right, what'd you do wrong, and what were the problems you faced. Another, last one real quick would be like Excite or Lycos. They used to be the search engines. Now what does everybody say? Google it. And that's the concept here is we're following some gentlemen, Ken Lang and Rob Frasca. I can just very quickly give you their background. But they looked at the current crop of first generation cryptos and came up with many flaws, 23 flaws. They said the top three, volatility, governance, and dependability. And they figured, if we could fix those, we might have Bitcoin 2.0 with obviously the number one flaw is volatility. As Joe was just saying, if you're trading Bitcoin and Ethereum or any of them right now, you've had a crazy September. Well, and Janet Yellen came out and she said, the biggest problem with Bitcoin being a very inefficient form of payment is it's too volatile. It has no monetary policy. Well, NDAU is the world's first adaptive digital currency. Adaptive meaning it adapts to its environment, the market, because it has a built-in monetary policy. I mentioned on my intro, I have a pretty good background in foreign exchange trading. Fiat currencies issued by a government, the euro, the yen, the dollar, they all have a central bank. And the central bank, like we have, their goal is to keep the coin, steady, no big ups and downs. Could you imagine, if the US dollar traded like Bitcoin, our economy would be in chaos. So Ken Lang, Rob Frasca went in their background, and maybe another time get more into them. But for time integrity, I want to give people a lot on this NDAU. Is it has a built-in monetary policy. And I'll give you a few examples of how that works. Now, this is from the NDAU website, NDAU.io. This is definitely old from maybe last week because the price is slightly lower, which I'll get into. And the endowment is up to 45 million. So you can buy this on one of 6 exchanges. But if you buy through a distributor, and I'll go through the benefits, your money goes into this endowment down here, hence the name NDAU. And that's one example of the monetary policy. For example, let's say NDAU was dropping really hard the way Bitcoin does pretty frequently. Well, the NDAU collective could step in like any central bank does. I know we say we don't manipulate our currency. We do. Every central bank does. And it's understandable sometimes. Well, they could use this endowment to step in and support the currency. That's just one example. Another example is people, I'm not sure how involved some people are, but if you've traded, you've seen there's, burn fees for selling. Well, NDAU, if it's dropping hard or very volatile, that burn fee goes up because what we've seen is there's many, many panic sellers. And, as Joe was saying, Bitcoin drops and always snaps back. In the last 12 years, Bitcoin has had every year a drop of at least 40, if not up to 80%. I'm sure a lot of people panic sold and then a month or 3 months later go, oh my God, it's at a new high. So that's another part of the monetary policy. Humans, we're very emotional and we'll panic sell. So
two questions for you, Matt, if I might. The first one is then if that's able to be done with this coin, then it's not a diversified coin. Is that right?
I'm not sure what you mean by diversified. You mean decentralized or
Decentralized, yes.
Yes, no, it's decentralized, meaning, every crypto is decentralized in that there's no central spot like a bank. You're not, you know where your money is. It's down at your branch. You walk in there, they can hand you the money. You hand them your money and they put it in your account. There's a central meeting place. This is decentralized. It's all on the blockchain. It runs on the Cosmo, which is a symbol ATOM. It's a big up-and-comer blockchain. NDAU's written in the same language, Tendermint Core, but the adaptability of NDAU, it can also run on the Ethereum blockchain, another big one that I'm sure a lot of your listeners are aware of. It's new. NDAU, we're about 2-3 years into trading. It's being issued versus mined like Litecoin or Bitcoin. A lot of coins now are being issued. Another example here of the monetary policy. Most coins all the others will just randomly issue. Everything comes down to supply and demand, real estate,
Okay.
stock market. Well, what if you issue coin just randomly? You'll knock the price down. NDAU, another example, and it's in the white pages, they only issue coin on the way up as demand requires it. So they know at what prices new coin will be issued. So as you can see on the screen here, we have roughly about 6.5 million circulating. The market cap is the price times circulating, gives you your market cap. And I'd love to, I think, go into the next slide.
Great.
Now. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry,
All right.
my bad.
Okay. Yes. So that's
Well, I do have another question here.
Sure.
You refer to the endowment.
Yes.
What exactly is the endowment? Is that a foundation of some sort?
Yes, it's a nonprofit endowment where the money goes into. I know, as I said, it's up to around 45 million. They're going to probably post more numbers. It's exponentially growing fast, but it's not invested in anything. It's nonprofit, and it's cash, U.S. dollars, that are used for not only if they wanted to, as I mentioned, support NDAU or possibly any other, if they decided to do more marketing or anything. What I will say about it, and I'm glad you brought it up, Chris, is a lot of people say, well, cryptos have nothing backing them. Well, I'm not going to say all the value, because if you look, the market cap here is 224 million, the endowment's at 30 million, but look at Bitcoin or Ethereum. They have no cash behind them. This I could kind of equate to Apple having 100 billion of cash on their balance sheet. It does give some asset to this coin, but that might be a longer answer, but hopefully that helped clear up the endowment.
No, just the foundation itself has no real purpose. Then it's not for humanity, for arts, or for anything like that. It's a foundation in name only right now.
Correct. Exactly.
It's a nonprofit. Their only job is they're elected in the position. They serve terms. Okay. And their only job function is to enforce the monetary policy. That's it.
Okay.
Matt, I have a question.
Yes.
On what exchange is this token created? It is on
Good thing.
Ethereum blockchain, or
well, it trades on the block its use is on the Ethereum blockchain. If you're asking exchanges, it's on Bittrex Global, Bitmart. It just got on KuCoin, which is a nice one because that gives more access here in the States. It's on Liquid, which is in Asia. Did I miss Bitmark? 6 total, if I mentioned them all.
They're adding more.
Yeah.
The beautiful part of this story is that, and Matt, thank you for letting me drop in, that it's early. It's really still the first inning. When I was mining Litecoin, the entire premise was we watched Bitcoin go to 1,000 and drop. And I said, all right, I'm going to toss aside my knowingness. And I was told by my mentor, yeah, everyone's going to go after Bitcoin right now. The mining, you might as well just buy it if you want it, because the mining ratio, the difficulty ratio is going to be too high, the hash rates, whatever we can achieve. But we got edge on Litecoin for 2 reasons. The number of guesses, we're doing over 1 million guesses a second. But the important thing was that they weren't even on an exchange here in the U.S. yet. And that we don't know how long it'll be, but it's coming. And so we mined when it wasn't on an exchange. So I have that present in my mind when people ask that. I'm like, yeah, that's the whole beauty of being able to acquire this, accumulate NDAU here before it gets too popular. By the time it's on Coinbase, I don't know, triple digits, 4 digits to 1,000 to 16,000 according to the bonding curve by the end of the first year. So they're in the process of adding more exchanges, and they are, where Apple was right before, if I could make a bold comparison, before they unseated BlackBerry, or where like Google was before they actually came on the scene, because they were like next generation after, Excite and Lycos and the rest of them. So it's kind of what that was 7 years ago. They saw all the flaws in crypto and they designed it.
Thank you, Joe. Matt, go right ahead. Let's take a look at something else here.
All right. Perfect timing, Joe. Bonding curve. And it leads to what I was talking about with the monetary policy and the releasing, the issuing. I want to get into this. There's going to be 30 million coin issued. So you can see we're just about halfway through the first tranche. There's going to be 10 million tranches here. And they're only issued, as I mentioned, at price points on the way up. And it started trading at $1 in 2019, and it's going to double 14 times through this first tranche. If you do the math, 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16, it takes you to 16,388 on this first tranche. And it will hit there if all 10 million are issued. If the 10 million aren't issued, that means it hasn't gone high enough, meaning, at 42, we'll issue more, 43 more. So the white paper stipulates exactly where this should go if it gets there. Now, 16,388 people out there might be saying, well, geez, it's at $33 going to 16,000. That sounds ridiculous. Well, I would agree with you years ago. And plus, if it was a stock, we've seen many other cryptos go on, paramount trajectories. But what I'll say is people just look at prices. You should also look at valuations, where what we call market capitalization. At the end of this first phase, we'll have 10 million coin out there times 16,388 exactly. That's $163 billion valuation. Today, Bitcoin is around 800 billion, was over $1 trillion. Ethereum today is about 450 billion, was up over 500. My point is, at valuation, we'll be a quarter of where Bitcoin is, will be less than half of where Ethereum is. So although 33 to 16,000 might sound, ridiculous, the valuation of 160 billion, we're still less than half of Ethereum. So I'd like to put that in perspective. And that's
okay.
I
got a question.
Yes.
Chris.
No, go ahead, Rick.
Or does your token have a use case, or is it basically just a token that appreciates based upon people buying and their interest in it? Is there a use case for it?
Yes. And I know Joe likes to talk about the different cases. What I'll definitely get into, and I'd love if we don't have enough time here, people reach out to me, because I think this is huge. CBDC, central bank digital currency. A lot of people are starting to hear about that now. Central banks all over the world are realizing they need a digital coin to go along with their fiat money. China, Israel, they're already beta testing them. Our Treasury said they're coming out with a paper on what they're going to do next. Pretty much all the majors have stated that. Well, the dollar will probably create our own digital currency. But out of roughly 190 central banks around the world, 30, 40 of the majors, we call them, they'll create them. The rest will look to adopt. And I don't think you would adopt something along the lines of a Bitcoin, that you wake up in the morning and it's down 20 or 30%. Like I said, if the dollar traded like Bitcoin, our economy would be in chaos. You'd want something more that has the built-in monetary policy. And that's when it was designed. It was one of its goals down the road was to become a central bank digital coin. But, where Joe and I first thought, it's 4 years down the road, it's in our face now.
Okay.
I don't know.
Joe, there's a question on the screen from Will.
Yeah,
you can address
I see that. Yeah, if it's trading, it's fungible for U.S. Tether. Bitmart is another account where some people trade, NDAU. I like to say, as far as the bonding curve, right? Matt's showing here that you're going to get 14 doublings starting at $1, right? Until the first 10 million are issued. Okay. They will not issue any more NDAU. The next issue price is $42.25. So the fact that we're able to buy it at $20 at a discount below the market, get you a protection plan, which Matt will get into, for me is huge. Because if I really listened, and I said this recently, to Matt, that if I really would have listened and bought Bitcoin, okay, and literally had it go to when it was 15 in 2012, I don't know that I would have even saw 1,000. I probably would have sold it, then I danced around the campfire and confused the bull market for genius that I'm a hero. Meanwhile, it goes to 65,000 a couple of years later. So for me, what I absolutely love about long term is everything's about risk buckets. And in this risk bucket, I want my Bitcoin 2.0. And Matt, there's a lot of adaptive technology that's in this token that will show you use cases. But the point is that as all that plays out, I'm getting paid to hold it 15%, more coins going in my wallet every day. And if they issue based on demand, unlike a stable coin, it's just, the SEC is after the stable coins. They don't have the freedom to go up. NDAU has the freedom to rise with demand, yet, not have volatility. But the point is, on that bonding curve, you're at 16,384 at the end of the first tranche if demand takes it there. What will take it there? Again, Matt was just pointing out to it. So the use cases to answer that question, immediately, it's a long-term store of value. Look at Bitcoin at 54, 55,000 today. There's a flight to Bitcoin to fight against inflation. Dollar's getting weaker, inflation, craziness. So people that actually have money want to be in Bitcoin right now, just as a hedge, right? Then you have, you have a long-term store of value, fight inflation. We got that check. Medium term, there's going to be a lot of apps. There's if you follow Joseph Hagen on LinkedIn or Matthew Cozzolino, I put an article up there that talks about the most important project in blockchain out there right now is Cosmos. It's someone's well thought out opinion. Okay. Cosmos symbol is ATOM. It's a hub of blockchains. It's a parallel ecosystem. To me, it's like Apple to BlackBerry. It's a parallel ecosystem to Ethereum. Only they already have, and they wrote into NDAU and Cosmos. They're written, NDAU is on the Cosmos blockchain. They're both written in Tendermint Core, like Matt said. But Ethereum is trying to move mountains in heaven and earth in order to become what they already are. They're a proof of stake, and you can do 50,000 transactions in a second on Cosmos versus like 30 with Ethereum, and Ethereum is a lot more expensive. So it's got that next generation technology already built into it. It's unique, but the medium-term use cases are going to be for apps as collateral in a smart contract. They'll be used in smart contracts. And like Matt said, long-term, in 3 to 5 years, everything's going to be digital currency, and that market is just huge. You can have a consortium of countries that actually use NDAU as their digital.
Which one of you would like to answer William's question here that's on the screen?
I don't see the
It says, can you exchange against a bonding curve? And what DEX is the bonding curve on?
So Matt, if I could just leave it to you in a second, but I want to point this out. For anyone to really want to understand the bonding curve or anything, I don't know if go into two of the founders of the company, but one guy is responsible for 20% of Google's revenue. His name is Ken Lang. He's one of the fathers of search. And I put it in the chat, wealthcolony.com/NDAU. There's a truncated, they went on for 90 minutes, and I watched it 3 times before I bought NDAU. 90 minutes a clip. I wanted to do a deep dive. This guy graduated number 2 at Duke University, but he got 4 majors in 4 years. Computer science, physics, mathematics, and electrical engineering, right? Beautiful mind. And this guy, some of his patents, Amazon, if Christopher likes this, then he likes these things too. And Christopher went on Amazon to buy one thing and he bought 6 things. Like, these are the hundreds of millions of followers on certain products, right? So these guys have been there, done that at every phase of the internet. And they're part of the brains behind the origination of NDAU. And so the point is, when you look at all of the money in the world going on the blockchain, and you look at digital gold, like if Bitcoin catches traditional gold and it's 10 trillion, great. You're talking about 100 trillion in currency. So the idea is that this is going to be able to mature to a digital currency that's actually used regularly. But as far as the bonding curve, that video has Ken Lang explaining the bonding curve and where it can go. And Matt, if you want to take it from there, as far as the bonding curve and that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that'll lead into our next slide. Just a little bit more on the bonding curve, because I think this is powerful in that here you see the red line of the market cap. Here's that when it gets to 16,384 times 10 million shares, that's where I was telling you the market cap. Look at the endowment. The endowment will be almost 17 billion. And that's only after the end of the first phase, because everybody who's buying this coin for being issued from the distributor, that's where your money's going. So it does have something backing it, and that's what their quote central bank has access to. So I wanted to put this in here because a lot of people, with every other coin, they're like, there's nothing behind it. True. And, really what's behind the dollar? The full faith and credit of the U.S. government, and they're printing dollars every day. So I wanted to throw this on. The next issue price is that point along the bonding curve of when they issue more. So as Joe was saying, what's amazing, there's no new supply put on the market unless demand warrants it. So the demand can absorb it. If something's trading flat and you put more supply, you're going to knock the price down. So it's another part of this, complex monetary policy that's built into it. That's just genius. And unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to go into Rob and Ken Lang too much for time. But, people that are listening, will give you our contact stuff. I could talk about this for hours and answer your questions. But to move along, this slide, as Joe was mentioning, I want to get right into it. We are a distributor. Our partner on this is somebody, if I had more time, I would talk about. But at one time, he was the second largest Bitcoin miner in the world. Before any of us on this call probably heard about it, he was a visionary mining Bitcoin at pennies and dollars. Well, he's our partner on this, and I can get more into that. But partner meaning access to the distributing. Now, as a distributor, we mentioned you can buy it on the exchange. But here, if you go through a distributor, the minimum investment is $1,000. So I put this up here. For every $1,000, you get 50 coins. Simple math, $20. It's trading. That was the screen I showed you was a little old. I looked this morning. It was around $27. So you do some quick math. You're getting it at 20. Right away, it's at 27. You're up 35%. Now, why are you getting it at a discount? Well, NDAU would like you to lock this up for 3 years. What Joe was talking about, proof of stake versus proof of work. Proof of work is mining, is Bitcoin, is Litecoin, very labor, utility intensive, versus proof of staking it, or what some people say, locking it up. So I will say it's a 3-year lock. So if you're interested, you do not use money that you think you might need in 3 years, but they're asking you to lock it up, because then your coin will be issued. It's supply, but it's in your wallet. It's not on the exchange for supply to be traded. Everything comes down to supply and demand. As demand keeps increasing and supply is limited, we go higher. So they're going to give it to you at a discount. They're also going to reward you with 15% yield each year for that 3 years. And what's great is they're not paying you in US dollars. They're paying you in more NDAU coin. The novelty has not worn off for me yet. I still go on my phone every day and I look, I have more coin than I had yesterday. And here's what's huge, just as huge or bigger. But the main reason why I also did IRA money is what's called total price protection. It's a principal protection through a company called TPP. It is backed by Lloyd's of London. How it works, it's not insurance. Insurance you only use if something bad happens, like your car accident. Well, no, let's say, God forbid, you invested in this and it went to zero. You woke up and it was zero. You're like, geez, I'm never following any guy on YouTube again. You get your money back. What? Yes. Here's how it works. And this is commonplace in alternative investments like in the oil and the gas industry. And if I had more time, I'd get into exactly how they can do it with treasury strips. But 5 years from your purchase, you can get 50% of your principal. If you don't take that, at 10 years, you can get 100%. I've had people say, well, geez, 10 years is a long time. Yeah. Is there any other stock or crypto out there that you have this type of principal protection? No. Now, It's regardless, and this is huge, it's regardless of where the coin goes and if you still own it. What does that mean? You invest in this. You get your 50 coins for every $1,000. You lock it up. 3 years from now, your lock comes undone. Let's say your $10,000 you put into it is worth 500,000, 300,000, whatever it is. You're happy. You sell all your coins. Like Joe was saying, you're jumping around the the campfire and looking to buy a beach house. Well, wait 2 more years and file with the TPP and get 50% of your principal. What? Yes, it's regardless because they're using treasury strips. That money's there. So when you go into investments, you should always weigh risk reward, which is different for every one of us depending on our situation, our ages. Your risk here is you might have to wait to get your money back, but you get it back. Your potential reward, Bitcoin 2.0. Maybe it goes to that 16, or say 3 years from now, it's only at half that, 8,000, or half that at 4, or even half that at 2. You're up not only just from $20, but this 15% per year for 3 years, that's 52% more coin when you unlock. Like I did the math right now. When it was the other day around 27, 28, if you invested between the discounted 20 and the 52% more coin, 3 years from now, you've a little more than doubled your money if it doesn't move. You can do the math. It's mainly because you're getting it at a discount and then you have more coin. But I went through, we think it moves and goes much higher. I don't know if anybody has questions here. I don't want to take up too much.
Yeah, you had a slide that kind of gave a comparison in those 3-year periods with the curves that went along. Do you remember that slide that you showed?
You mean today, or was that
yesterday? Yeah,
yesterday. The slide with the 3 curves.
Yeah, the $1,000 put in.
Oh, this one
showing the progressions.
It might have been this one, which was my next slide.
Yeah, go ahead. Go right ahead.
Boy, we're working good together.
Yeah,
this was my next slide.
A lot of practice. I'm going to be on your team. Yeah, go ahead.
What I put this up for is to really show the power of compounding. Here in 2001, today, your $1,000 gets you 50 coin. It's at $20. It's trading around 27 this morning when I looked at it. Well, let's say it gets to $100, 1,000. Let's say it gets to that 16,000. I know it's 16,384, but for simplicity, I just rounded down. 50 coin, your $1,000 could go to 800,000. I would be ecstatic if that happened. Now, let's say you lock it up and you get that interest. Okay, well, here's your 50 coin times 15% at the end of the first year, plus 15% at the end of the second year, plus 15% here. And at the end of the third year, you have a little over 76 coins. Now let's go to 16,000. That's how much you make. The difference alone of 416,000 here in red, I'd be happy making that for every $1,000 I'd put in. That's just the difference from staking it and getting those staking rewards, the dividend. So as I said, you get 52% more. And, we think NDAU has 3 distinct advantages. And, Rob Frask and Ken Lang in that 90-minute interview is amazing. We also put out a truncated one with hitting the major points, so we can get that to people, is staking rewards. You're getting dividends here of more coin. It's powerful. And, even if it doesn't move, it shows you how much more you'll make. But if this does work the way anticipated, it's huge. The principal protection that I went through, to me, that was the main reason why not only did I do a wallet with regular money, I did a wallet with IRA money. That's what this stands for, SD, self-directed IRA. It is eligible. Very quickly, I have my IRA at Charles Schwab, Merrill Lynch, Smith Barney, all the big firms. They won't let you do this because they don't earn commissions off of it. So you have one step in between of just opening up. We use Advanta. You can use whoever you want. They're very good. They know exactly what you're doing. So you open an account at Advanta IRA. You move the amounts you're comfortable with. I didn't do my whole IRA, but enough I was comfortable with. Move that in here. So, there's a retirement gap in this country. The average American retires with 23 years left to live, but only has 19 months of expenses saved up. Well, I'm hoping this either greatly closes or wipes out that gap for me. I'm doing the math. I can add, the amount I put in plus 52% times 16,000, 10,000, 8,000. Well, maybe in 3 years from now, I'm retired and, we're inviting you all to my beach house maybe, but,
okay, Matt, just tell us where it is. That'll be fine.
Okay.
Now,
Well,
do you have a final slide you want to go to?
Well, I'll just say there is anybody who invests, maybe you could take your yacht to my beach house.
That'd be good. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was the final slide. I mean, I could go into more, but for time integrity, I stuck to 5 slides, and open it up for some Q&A if you'd like.
Okay. Well, that was very concise. Thank you, Matt. Very, very well done. Joe, I'm sorry you didn't get to come in as much as you might have wanted to there, but in order to make up for that, Joe, what would you like to add right now?
What I put in the chat, we've had people that were interested in NDAU early on, and they're like, oh, that's really interesting. They get it a little bit. And they say, maybe I'm going to put in $5,000 or $10,000. We've had people literally watch that 90-minute video. We truncated it down to like 20 minutes, and it's at wealthcolony.com/NDAU. And you'll see a video there. And it's not Matt or I talking about 16,000 and in the final phase, 500,000 per coin. It's two guys that have been there, done that. Ken Lang and Rob Frasca. Rob Frasca had the world's first financial services firm on the internet. And when he was 29, he sold it to Intuit. And he's been in the room with Bill Gates and all these guys like Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos. And he was there when in the room. And they tell the story in that video. So I don't want to, take up more time and explain it. He does a better job anyway, because he was there. And, everyone wanted to know who this kid was in the room that was calling out Lycos and calling out Excite and Yahoo as obsolete. There's a company not even around yet. And that kid was Larry Page from Google. They weren't even formed yet. And he was predicting that they would dominate because they see the first mover take all the arrows. And it's that next generation that every time on the internet, VisualCalc, right? It probably just becomes Excel, right? So all of them, Lotus Notes becomes Excel. So the bottom line is that's where we're at. There's a lot of information there. Guys went from thinking they were going to put in $5,000 or $25,000, and they wind up putting 6 figures in some cases 7 figures, where they're locking it up for a few years. They're not going to touch it in their IRA anyway. And what they have is a protection plan and something that could change the trajectory of their retirement by just owning a lot of it.
Well, Rick, with your extensive base of knowledge in this area, I know you've got some questions. Fire away, my friend.
Well, sort of asked the questions that I had in mind, but it definitely is a very intriguing program that you guys have here, and even more so with that protection plan. I mean, I had never heard of any, banking environment, nonetheless crypto, where by locking it up for a certain period of time beyond the 3 years, that you can appreciate 100% guarantee back to your original investment. And to me, that's pretty dynamic. And whoever thought of that was amazing.
In very, very quick, I could explain it. Because a lot of people say to me, Matt, that sounds like too good to be true. It doesn't sound legit. Well, when they realize how it works, oh, that's pretty simple. It's been, what they do. And first, I want to drop back on what Joe was talking, and I'm glad he picked it up because I forgot. Big thing about Rob Frasca starting the first online financial service firm in his 20s. He sold it to Intuit. It's called Quicken. So, I mean, how many millions of people use Quicken? So, I mean, these guys have been, as Joe said, been there, done that. Now, how does the principal protection plan work? U.S. Treasury bills. We used to do similar stuff like this in the FX markets for larger investors. Well, U.S. Treasuries pay interest every 6 months. Well, if they take that, what's called the coupon, if they strip that coupon off, U.S. Treasury strips, it no longer pays the interest. You just buy it at a very steep discount. So, for instance, let's say, Rick, you put in $10,000. Well, I know 10 years from now, I need $10,000 for you. Now, it might only cost a few $100 or a few thousand to do that. And every day that Treasury strip is maturing towards that face value of 10,000. So around 5 years from now, it's going to be 50% or 5,000. So that's where it comes in. If you want your 50% at 5 years, they sell the treasury and give you the money. So you can't also then go back and get the other 50 in 5 more years. Well, let's say at 5 years you say, nah, I'm okay, let it sit. Well, that bond will keep maturing. So 10 years from now, they sell it, here's your money. So think about it. You put 100,000 into this, it turns into a few million. Well, you also get your 100,000 back, or at least maybe 5 years from now. If if I turned 100,000 into a few million, I would just at 5 years, give me the 50%, the 50,000. I'm fine, and go on. So that's how it works. People think it's too good to be true, but it's pretty simple.
Matt, let me drop in with another analogy.
Please.
I want to start this business. Matt, give me $5. I want to make these widgets and go sell them, and I'm going to make money with your $5. Okay. I'm going to give you your $5 back at the end of 5 years, but I'm going to give you a piece of the profit too. Okay, great. Let's do that. This concept is not widgets. It's, Lloyd's of London, they famously settled all the claims within, I think, 30 days or whatever it was of the Titanic going down. Like, they famously have insured the British fleets back in the day, right? So the point is, what they do this in a lot of high risk oil and gas, mining equipment, some medical equipment they do. So where there's a risk factor, they say, hey, we'll have a protection plan on this equipment. Okay. We did it with a different company that's public with Bitcoin mining equipment, right? But they're doing it here because they don't see it as high risk, but it's the same model that works. They're going to take your money in premium financing. So we have a partnership with a company called iGenius, which is a division of a public company, InvestView. They have the ability to own it below the market, but instead of selling it to you and making the spread, they actually take the difference, invest some of it in premium financing in this protection plan. It's called TPP. And what they do is, if you agree to lock it up for 3 years and motivate you to think long term, like the Bitcoin people, two rules of Bitcoin. Michael Saylor, the guy from MicroStrategy, he's going to become the first multi-trillionaire from Bitcoin, right? 2 rules in Bitcoin: don't sell your Bitcoin. Second rule is don't sell your Bitcoin, right? And the believers of Bitcoin still feel that way. So if that becomes NDAU, right? Those guys that have held it for 3 years and got a lot more coin are going to make a lot more money. But how it works is they take your money by policy with Lloyd's of London. You'll have an actual account number and ability to log in and check on your account. Lloyd's of London, they have crazy balance sheets. So what they do is they take your money, they leverage it way the hell up. They could do that with their balance sheet, right? And then with all that leverage money, they'll buy T-bills and they'll make money with your money. And they say, okay, you got 2 choices. Number 1, we'll give you half your money back in 5 years, or you get the rest of it back in 10 years. So the worst case is you lost out on inflation because NDAU went to 0 and you got all your money back in a year. I'm sorry, in 10 years withdrawn. But it doesn't matter if NDAU goes to 16,000 at the end of the first tranche, if it goes to 500,000 at the end of the final tranche, or goes to 0. Your TPP pays you half of your money back in 5 years if you decide that, or all of it in 10 years.
Now, just
before, many people might have some questions, and I know you sent some private messages, of which I relayed those into the comment section live. So if anybody wants to reach out to you guys, there's a website and some email addresses. So take it away, Chris.
Exactly. Well, yeah, just wanted to make sure that all that was. I saw it come on the screen. Thank you, Rick, for doing that. And I know that there are people that are going to want to reach out to you, not only on NDAU, but also on that investment coaching that you had mentioned early on. I'm sure that if they contact you, you can explain that to them as well. Mm-hmm. Gentlemen, this has been absolutely fantastic today. I appreciate both of you being with us. With all these various projects, this to me looks like an extremely fascinating project and program. But there are thousands of them out there, and what we try to do is make sure they get the best of those programs get in front of the people that will have the opportunity and will have the wherewithal in order to get involved. Thank you for that great description, Matt. And Joe, I'm sure that the two of us will be talking soon. Thank you for being on the Swarm Unplugged.
Christopher, I'd like to just add, let me get back the right stream. And Rick,
Are you having fun, Rick? I thought you were the technical director.
It's hard to be the front end and the back end in watching and clicking buttons, but we got it straight out here. Just want to bring up that none of this is financial information. It's for entertainment purposes only, and do your own research and do your own homework. We are not advocating. We're showing what is out there in the marketplace today.
Very good. Very good. And what I'd like to say to all the community and all of our audience, thank you so much for being a part of this Swarm Unplugged. But always remember to listen, learn, and give. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Swarm Unplugged podcast. Be sure to hit the follow button and leave us a glowing comment. Gravitate yourself to be on the podcast so you are the next one to introduce themselves to the Be Social community. See you on the next episode.